day by day, what happens in her mind when you disappear. Old Stoic wisdom. Absence diminishes small loves and increases great ones, as the wind blows out the candle and blows up the bonfire. François de la Rochefoucauld. What if I told you that vanishing from her life for a while could be one of the most potent strategies to make her think about you? The moment you stop chasing, stop texting, and remove yourself from the picture, her mind will be occupied with thoughts of you more than ever. It might sound surprising, but here's the truth. The human mind is naturally drawn to what it can't have. By pulling away, you trigger a cascade of emotions, curiosity, uncertainty, even obsession. Many men make the mistake of continuously proving their worth. They text first, check for signs of interest, and keep trying to stay visible in her life. But here's the kicker. This behavior actually makes you fade into the background. When you're constantly available, always present, and always seeking her attention, she becomes complacent. She believes she can have you whenever she desires. But the moment you create distance, that's when the real dynamics begin to shift. Women don't respond to absence in the same way men do. When a man loses interest, he moves on. But when a woman senses distance, she starts questioning herself. She wonders if she misunderstood the situation. She revisits every conversation, analysing your actions and wondering why you're not pursuing her the way others might. As the days go by, the intensity of these thoughts grows stronger. In this video, we'll explore what truly happens in her mind, day by day, when you vanish. We will delve deep into the psychology of scarcity, the emotional uncertainty, and the triggers that make her desire you more than ever before. Whether she's your ex, someone you've just started talking to, or even a woman who once seemed indifferent, understanding this process will give you a distinct advantage in any scenario. By the end, you'll grasp why your absence often speaks louder than your presence and how you can wield this knowledge to your benefit without manipulation, desperation, or playing games. Day 1. She doesn't care yet. Let's face it, the first day you disappear won't send her into a frenzy. In fact, she probably won't even notice. Women, by nature, are accustomed to receiving attention from men, and if you suddenly stop reaching out, her first thought might simply be that you're busy or playing hard to get. She may not register any shift in her emotional state, especially if she wasn't particularly invested in you. If she was already lukewarm about your connection, she might even welcome the space. This is where most men go wrong. They expect an immediate emotional response. They think that if they stop texting, she will instantly notice and panic. That assumption couldn't be more off target. Women and men experience absence in fundamentally different ways. While a man might take silence as a sign of rejection, a woman typically assumes she's still in control of the situation. She believes she has you whenever she chooses to reach out, and your absence might not make her feel any immediate loss. Instead, she'll think that you'll return to her like all the other men who play the waiting game, but ultimately give in. Now, consider this. If you were texting her daily, always available and quick to respond, and then suddenly stopped, she would indeed notice the change. But at this point, she still wouldn't be bothered by it. She might think, he'll come back soon, just like the others. There's no emotional urgency, no panic, no sense of loss. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter continuously refills your water glass every time you take a sip. You never think twice about being thirsty because it's always right there. But when the waiter stops refilling your glass and your water runs out, that's when you start realizing how thirsty you truly are. This is exactly how a woman's mind operates when you disappear. At this early stage, her glass of attention is still full, and she has no reason to think otherwise. She assumes you'll return to her like everyone else. But here's where the dynamics begin to shift. The moment she realizes that you're not coming back, that you've actually gone, her perception starts to change. She begins to question herself. Was she too casual with you? Did she misread your interest? Her curiosity begins to stir and something deeper starts to unfold in her mind. This is a key element of human psychology, often described as the scarcity effect. When something is readily available, we take it for granted. It's only when it's no longer there that we begin to recognize its value. This is exactly how a woman begins to view you when you disappear, as something she can't easily access, and that thought alone stirs up desire. So if you're trying to navigate the complexities of attraction and relationships, remember this: the power of absence isn't about playing games or manipulating her feelings. It's about understanding the psychology behind desire. It's about recognizing that when you become scarce, you become more valuable. The real trick is not to disappear in a way that feels like rejection or abandonment, but to do so with purpose and timing that sparks her curiosity and emotional engagement. Think about your own experiences. Have you ever taken someone for granted because they were always there? And did your feelings change when they suddenly weren't? This is the kind of psychological principle that works not only in relationships, but also in life and love. Absence doesn't create attraction automatically, but when it's done thoughtfully, it can be a powerful force. So, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever noticed how the dynamics shift when someone you care about becomes less available? How did that affect you? Let's discuss and learn from each other's experiences. Day 2-3. She starts to notice. By the second or third day, something shifts in her mind. She starts to notice you're missing, but she won't admit it, even to herself. At first, it's just a fleeting thought. He hasn't texted me today. She might dismiss it quickly, thinking it's no big deal. After all, men disappear all the time, and most of them come crawling back. But this is where things begin to take a turn. You've broken the predictable pattern she's grown accustomed to. If you've been consistent with your texting, checking in, or responding to her social media posts, she expected that behavior to continue. But now, you've disrupted that rhythm. Suddenly, you're unpredictable, and unpredictability is like a spark to curiosity. This is when psychology comes into play. She may not even realize it, but she starts testing the waters. She might post something on social media, maybe a selfie or a cryptic quote, just to see if you'll react. It's subtle, but it's a way of gauging if you're still paying attention to her. If she runs into you in person or notices you active on social media, she'll take extra care in observing whether you acknowledge her presence. But here's the real shift. When she senses that you're pulling away or disengaging, it begins to mess with her mind. It's like losing your keys. At first, you don't panic. You assume they're somewhere around. But the longer they remain missing, the more you retrace your steps, checking all the places you know they're not, analysing every moment leading up to their disappearance. That's exactly what's happening in her head. She can't stop thinking about it. By the end of day 3, the first seed of doubt is planted. She starts to wonder, did I misread him? Is he losing interest? These thoughts start to swirl, but here's the critical point. She won't reach out. Not yet. Her ego won't allow it. She expects you to be the one to break the silence first. This is where her pride and expectations clash with reality. She believes you're supposed to be the one chasing after her, not the other way around. The fact that you've disappeared creates a psychological gap that she doesn't want to fill herself, as it would mean lowering herself to a position where she's the one seeking your attention. In the modern world, this dynamic plays out constantly in relationships, especially in the age of instant communication and social media. People expect fast responses, regular engagement, and clear signals of interest. But when you deviate from these patterns, you cause confusion, intrigue, and even a bit of anxiety. The absence of regular contact triggers the human need for certainty, but the more uncertain the situation becomes, the stronger the pull to resolve it. This is where your absence becomes a powerful tool. You're not just stepping back from the situation, you're giving her the space to question her own feelings, her assumptions, and her expectations. The key takeaway here is to understand the power of unpredictability. By simply stepping away and allowing time to pass without explanation, you've placed a seed in her mind that begins to grow with each passing day. It challenges her assumptions, and as her curiosity deepens, she may find herself re-evaluating her interest in you. The message here for you, as a modern man navigating the complexities of relationships, is that sometimes less is more. By taking a step back and allowing her space to wonder about you, you give yourself the opportunity to regain control of the dynamic and keep her attention without having to fight for it. This strategy, rooted in Old Stoic wisdom, teaches the value of patience, self-control, and the art of letting things unfold naturally. The Stoic way isn't about chasing or forcing connections. It's about maintaining your composure, staying true to yourself, and allowing others to come to their own conclusions. When you disappear for a while, not as a tactic, but as a reflection of your inner strength and understanding of your own worth, you put the ball back in her court, and from that moment on, she'll begin to wonder if she's truly losing you, which is when she starts to pay even more attention. Don't just react to situations, control the narrative by stepping back with purpose. Comment below to affirm, "I master the art of unpredictability and allow things to unfold naturally." Day 4-5. She starts checking her phone. By day 4 or 5, she's starting to feel the weight of your absence in a way that cannot be ignored. It's no longer just a casual recognition that you're not there. It's the beginning of real emotional discomfort. The most powerful part? She won't admit it. Not to herself, not to her friends, and certainly not to you. But deep down, she's already taking note. Her phone, once a device for casual communication, has become a symbol of uncertainty. She picks it up more than usual, not necessarily waiting for a message from you, but there's always that small hope that your name will pop up. And when it doesn't, that feeling, a brief but sharp pang of disappointment, settles in. It's subtle, but it's there, gnawing at her. Now let's make one thing clear. She's not obsessed. At least, not yet. But the truth is, you've disrupted her expectations, and that's powerful. She thought she had you figured out. She expected you to follow the usual pattern, the typical hard-to-get game where you go quiet for a few days, and then you cave. She was ready for that. But you didn't follow the script. No, you've done something unexpected, something different. This is where the power shifts. She's not just thinking about you, but she's beginning to doubt herself. The phone is now more than a device for communication. It has become her tool for validation. She's checking old conversations, rereading your last messages, analysing every word, every pause. Perhaps she even checks when you were last online, hunting for clues, searching for that affirmation that you're still interested, that you're still thinking of her. Here's the catch. She wants to be the one in control. She wants confirmation that she still holds the power, that she's still the one calling the shots. And when she doesn't get that instant reassurance, her confidence begins to waver. This crack in her emotional armour, that's where you have the power to influence her thoughts. It's not about playing games. It's about showing her that you are not just another man in the cycle. You've disrupted the norm, and now she's questioning everything. Was she ever in control at all? The truth is, you've shifted her mental space, and she can't stop thinking about you. This is a critical moment in the dance of attraction. Think of it like a chess match. When you disappear for a few days, you're not just retreating. You're strategically positioning yourself, forcing her to confront her own feelings and expectations. You've given her space to feel what she thought she could avoid. The silence is now an echo in her mind, growing louder with each passing day. In this modern world, where instant communication is a given, disappearing for a few days can be more powerful than any words. It plays into the human need for validation, control, and certainty. By not giving her the constant attention she might expect, you're forcing her to take a hard look at her own vulnerabilities. She begins to feel the uncertainty that comes with wondering if she truly has your attention. And that, my friend, is when the attraction begins to deepen. So, here's your advice. If you want to truly understand the power of absence, let it work in your favour. Recognize that by stepping back, you're not simply fading away. You're becoming an enigma, a force she must reckon with. Silence in this context is not weakness, it is strength. You hold the power to make her question everything she thought she knew, not by force, but by subtlety, by mastering the art of disappearance. Remember this. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, Nietzsche. You, by holding your ground, are showing her that you are the man who will not be easily swayed or manipulated by anyone's expectations. Day 6 to 7. The confusion kicks in. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. Sun Tzu. By now she's starting to feel it. The silence that once went unnoticed is now inescapable. It's not just something she observes, it's starting to bother her. And here's a truth that many men fail to grasp. Women dislike uncertainty. It's not necessarily that she's missing you at this point, but rather that she's losing control over the situation. She's accustomed to having things figured out, to being able to predict the next move, but with your absence, all that predictability vanishes. She expected something by now, a reaction, a comment, maybe even just a like on her latest post. But you've remained silent, and this silence is doing something to her mind. It's creating a sense of confusion that she can't shake off. This is when she starts thinking thoughts she wouldn't usually entertain. Did he really just disappear on me, she wonders? Is he talking to someone else? Was I not as important as I thought? These thoughts might never have crossed her mind if you were still in the picture, still showing her your attention. But now, with your absence, she's left to fill in the gaps, and when the human mind is left to its own devices, it often fills those gaps with doubts and insecurities. Now, here's where most men make a fatal mistake. They get impatient. They start thinking, it's been almost a week. She must be thinking about me. Maybe I should check in just to keep her interested. And the moment they do, they undo all the progress they've made. You see, the whole point of disappearing is to create that sense of mystery, to stir curiosity, and shift the power dynamics. The moment you break the silence, you give her exactly what she's been waiting for. Confirmation. She knows you were playing a game, but the game hasn't ended. She still has your attention. And just like that, the spell is broken. She no longer feels the need to think about you constantly because you've just shown her that you're still the one chasing. Let's bring this back to real life for a moment. Have you ever been in a situation where you were working on something, maybe a project, a negotiation, or even a relationship, and then someone suddenly gave in or showed their cards too soon? That moment when everything you'd built feels like it crumbles in an instant. That's the feeling you create when you break the silence. The power shifts back to her, and you lose the emotional momentum you had. So if you're trying to understand the psychological dynamics of attraction, remember this. Absence doesn't just create desire, it creates confusion and mystery. You don't need to fill every silence. Let her wonder. Let her feel a little unsure. This is what shifts the balance in your favor, not just your presence or attention. And if you're ready to win over your dream girl, please comment, "I'm ready to conquer," so we can move on to the next part. Day 8 to 10. The panic sets in. By the 8th or 10th day, she's no longer just confused. She's starting to panic. She's worried, deeply worried that you've truly disappeared, and even more so that you don't care anymore. She's questioning whether she missed her chance to appreciate you when you were still around, and now she's grappling with the consequences of her actions. The fascinating part of this whole situation is that despite everything happening in her mind, nothing about you has actually changed. You haven't said a word, haven't played any mind games, and haven't even acknowledged her existence. Yet, in her perception, you've suddenly become far more valuable than you were before. The reason for this dramatic shift in how she views you comes down to a simple yet powerful concept. Scarcity creates demand. Think about it in a broader context. When something is always there, readily available, it's often taken for granted. People become accustomed to its presence, and it starts to lose its perceived value. But once that thing disappears, even momentarily, the situation changes. Suddenly, it's not just wanted, it's desperately sought after. This is exactly what's unfolding in her mind right now. You were once a predictable, steady presence in her life, always there, always consistent. But now, you've become a question mark. This uncertainty, this void of predictability, is what makes you more desirable than ever. In the world of human psychology, unpredictability is a powerful tool. It triggers curiosity, and curiosity, in turn, creates desire. By simply stepping back and allowing yourself to become a rare commodity, you've shifted the dynamic. It's no longer about you being available all the time. It's about the space you've created, making her question where you've gone and why. The absence of your presence is forcing her to re-evaluate everything she thought she knew about you and about herself. This is a principle that can be applied to modern relationships, especially in today's fast-paced world where everything is expected to be immediate and constant. In a time when instant messaging and social media make everyone available at all times, pulling away even for a brief moment can make someone stand out and become more intriguing. It taps into a basic human desire for certainty and stability. When you remove that stability, people begin to wonder, often without realizing it, if they might have let something special slip away. In the context of relationships, this is a subtle yet powerful way to increase your value and keep someone emotionally invested. So the next time you feel the need to step back, remember that by creating a little space and stepping into the realm of unpredictability, you can turn a predictable relationship dynamic into something far more intriguing and desirable. Like the Stoics often advised, mastering the art of self-control and detachment allows you to maintain your power and value, making you far more attractive than when you're always at someone's beck and call. Day 11 to 14. The doubts surface. By day 11 or 14, a shift takes place in her mind that is both subtle and powerful. The uncertainty is no longer just about you. It has evolved into something deeper, something far more personal. She begins to question if she's lost you for good. The panic settles in, not just because you're absent, but because she feels her own sense of security unraveling. She replays every interaction, every moment with you, in a desperate search for answers. Did she push you away? Was she not enough for you? Did you find someone else who meets your needs? These thoughts swarm her mind relentlessly. But here's where the true power lies. Her ego starts to crack. Many women believe they hold the power in relationships. They assume that men will always chase after them, always return, always make the effort. But you've shattered that illusion. By stepping back, you've placed her in a position she rarely finds herself in, confronting the silent space you've left behind. And silence is a powerful force, one that forces her to confront her own worth. Instead of assuming you're waiting for her to make the first move, she begins to question if she ever truly had control at all. This internal turmoil is what opens the door for her emotions to take full control. As the famous philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." You've given her a reason to doubt herself, and in doing so, you've started to unravel her emotional defenses. This is the turning point, the moment when your absence becomes a mirror reflecting her deepest insecurities. You're not just absent from her life, you've made her face her own vulnerabilities. Now, as she questions herself, her emotions begin to overpower her logic, pulling her further into the vortex of uncertainty, where her desire for reassurance grows stronger with each passing day. Understand this. By embracing the silence, you've created a psychological force field that forces her to reevaluate everything she thought she knew. Now, more than ever, she's left wondering whether she truly has you, or if you've moved beyond her reach forever. This is where you hold the power. You're not simply playing hard to get, you're breaking the pattern, showing her a new reality, one where she must confront her own emotional landscape, one where she has to question everything, including her own worth. Comment to remember: I control my own value and emotions. This statement reflects the power of silence, self-control, and knowing your worth. By embracing your own value, you place yourself in a position of strength, making others question their own perceptions and actions. Day 15 to 17. She needs to know where she stands. He who is not a good servant will not be a good master. Plato. By now, her emotions are beginning to take over. The silence that once seemed manageable has grown unbearable, and she can't ignore it any longer. In her mind, this wasn't supposed to happen. She expected you to crack, to send a text, to show some sign of life, something, anything, that would let her know you're still invested. But instead, you've given her nothing, and that silence is becoming an obsession. It's driving her crazy, and now she's desperate for clarity. She needs to know where she stands, but she's stuck in a psychological tug-of-war. Here's the interesting part. She doesn't want to look desperate. She doesn't want to come across as the one who's pursuing, so she'll get creative in her efforts to make contact. It might start off subtle. Perhaps she posts a song that reminds her of you, something that hints at your connection but isn't directly about you. Or maybe she'll ask one of your mutual friends how you're doing, just to see if she can glean any insight into your feelings. In some cases, she may even send you a random, seemingly meaningless message, hoping to spark a reaction. But make no mistake, every one of these actions is a sign that she's thinking about you, and that silence you've created is affecting her more than you know. This is where most men go wrong. They see this small effort from her and jump at the chance, eager to respond, thinking that she's finally showing interest again. They rush in, pretending like nothing happened, excited to see that she's reaching out, and they mistake this gesture for genuine desire. But here's the key point. She isn't reaching out because she wants you back. At least not yet. What she's really doing is seeking relief. She's not looking to reignite the connection. She's trying to regain the control she's lost. She wants to know that she still holds some power in the situation. And when you respond too quickly, when you make it easy for her to regain that power, you lose all the ground you've gained. Let's reflect on this with some real-world advice. Think about situations in your own life where you are given a bit of space or silence, only to find yourself feeling unsure about where you stood with someone. Whether in business or personal relationships, it's only natural to seek clarity when things are left unresolved. But as the Stoic wisdom teaches us, patience and control are key in such situations. By staying composed and not reacting hastily to her attempts for reassurance, you maintain the power balance. You don't need to make her feel comfortable right away. Instead, let the mystery linger, and in doing so, you'll give her the space to confront her own emotions and thoughts. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone tested your patience or tried to regain control? How did you handle it? Share your experience in the comments below, and let's continue the conversation together. Day 18 to 20, the urge to reach out turns into fear. By day 18 to 20, what began as a subtle urge to reach out has now transformed into something far more intense: fear. At this point, she's no longer just wondering where you've gone or why you're not contacting her. She's truly scared. The fear has set in that she may have lost you for good, and the panic is real. She starts to fear the worst, questioning whether you've moved on, whether you're happier without her, and if perhaps she was never as special to you as she once believed. But there's one thought that terrifies her more than all the others. Is he with someone else now? The fear of losing a man is something women grapple with, but even more so, they fear being replaced. The idea that you've found another woman who excites you more, who doesn't play games, and who has earned your attention, this thought haunts her deeply. It's a natural insecurity, a primal fear of being outdone, forgotten, or even overlooked in favour of someone else who seems to meet your needs better. This fear is not just about losing you. It's about feeling inferior, about questioning whether she was ever truly worthy of your time and affection. In the context of relationships, this fear brings with it an unexpected emotion: regret. She begins to regret the time she spent taking you for granted or playing her own games. The fear of being replaced triggers this deep sense of loss, making her look back and wonder if she could have done things differently. She might start reflecting on her past behaviour, realising that maybe she didn't appreciate you enough, or that she didn't give the relationship the attention it deserved when she had the chance. This regret is powerful because it often comes too late, once the damage is done and the absence has turned into the uncomfortable reality that maybe she pushed you too far away. In modern relationships, this kind of fear is more common than you might think. With the rise of online dating and constant digital distractions, the pressure to stay connected is immense. When someone pulls away, the uncertainty and doubt begin to creep in, especially when everything seems so accessible at the touch of a button. People often question whether they're being replaced, whether their significance is being overshadowed by someone else's presence. The absence you've created forces her to reckon with the possibility that she is no longer your top priority, and that fear can lead to regret in a heartbeat. For you, as a man navigating this dynamic, it's crucial to understand the depth of what's happening in her mind. The key takeaway here is that fear, when triggered by uncertainty and the possibility of replacement, has the power to stir deep emotions. Instead of rushing to reassure her or re-entering the predictable patterns you had before, recognize that her emotions are valid, but her reaction is driven by the scarcity you've created. By taking a step back, you've sparked a shift in how she perceives you, not just as a man in her life, but as someone whose absence has made her feel an emotional loss. This is where the Stoic wisdom comes into play, by exercising control over your actions and allowing her to confront her own fears. You've set the stage for her to reevaluate her feelings and your value in her life. By day 21 to 25, the dynamic has shifted. This is no longer just about her thinking about you. She's now actively plotting her comeback. The silence you've created has started to chip away at her ego in ways she never anticipated. In her mind, you were supposed to be predictable, always chasing, always wanting her. That was the script. But now, your silence, your indifference, has shattered those expectations. This is when she starts to realize a hard truth. You are not the man she thought you were. The worst part? She's beginning to fear that she might never hear from you again. And that fear? It's what sparks the real change. Now, the game is on. No longer content with just waiting for you to reach out, she's starting to think about how she can win you back. But don't mistake this for weakness. She won't come to you directly. That would be too obvious, too vulnerable. Instead, she will start playing the game of subtlety. She might post a throwback picture, one that reminds her of when things were good between you. She might show up unexpectedly at places she knows you frequent, creating a casual, bumped into you by chance scenario. She may act as though she's perfectly fine, living her life without a care, just to see if you'll bite, to see if you'll react. But here's the truth. If she didn't care, she wouldn't be doing any of this. These actions are not signs of moving on, they're a test. She's not over you, she's simply testing whether you've moved on from her. In the words of the great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Her actions are not random, they are a response to the void you've left, a void that's forcing her to confront her own vulnerabilities. Your absence has become the challenge she must overcome, and now, in her mind, the only way to regain control is through this silent battle of wits. The game has shifted, but remember this, she is now the one uncertain, the one trying to maneuver while you hold the power of silence. Final thoughts. Don't rush the chase. By day 26 to 30, the tables have turned. She's no longer just sitting back and waiting for you to make a move. At this point, she's ready to chase. The absence that you've created has affected her in ways she couldn't have predicted. For weeks, she felt in control, convinced that you would eventually fold, that you'd cave and reach out first. But you didn't. And now, she's facing the uncomfortable truth that she's the one who's feeling the absence, not just in her mind, but in her heart. The silence is no longer just something in the background. It's become a force she has to reckon with. At first, she tried to ignore it, pretending it didn't matter. Then, she tried convincing herself that she didn't care, that she wasn't bothered by your absence. But soon, that inner narrative didn't hold up. So she tested the waters, sending small hints, dropping suggestions, hoping that you'd react. But you remained silent. And now, she's realizing something she never thought would happen. She's the one who has to put in the effort to gain your attention, and that realization is shifting everything in her mind. This is the moment when she stops playing passive games and begins to make real moves. She texts you, but not with any direct or serious message, nothing that would make her appear desperate. Instead, It's vague, maybe casual, with the intention of evoking something from you. She might bring up an inside joke you once shared, or remind you of a memory, hoping to trigger the emotions that once existed between you. It's not about talking to you for the sake of a conversation. It's about rekindling that spark, reawakening something she feels slipping away. On top of that, she finds subtle ways to put herself in your path. Maybe she needs help with something trivial, or maybe she just happens to be where you are, casually showing up in your environment. There's a noticeable shift in her behavior. She becomes softer, more feminine, more attuned to your interests and needs. She wants you to see her again as the woman you once admired, the one you were once drawn to, the version of herself that you couldn't resist. In modern life, this shift is something we see in relationships all the time. Whether it's in romantic partnerships or even professional dynamics, the moment someone feels like they're losing control or they sense the shift of power, they will try to regain it. It's human nature. But here's the key advice. If you've made it this far without breaking your resolve, don't fall for the bait too easily. Recognize what's happening. She's stepping up the chase because she feels the distance, and now she's working to pull you back in. The power of silence, when executed with precision, is still in your hands, but only if you remain calm and stay focused on your own principles. Think about it. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had to pursue someone or something because you realized you were at risk of losing it? That's what she's feeling now. It's important for you to stay grounded, recognize her efforts, and decide how you want to proceed from here. This is where patience and emotional clarity matter most. So tell me, how would you handle the chase when the power dynamic shifts? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Here's the uncomfortable truth that many men refuse to acknowledge. Women don't miss men who are always available. Instead, they miss the men they feel they're losing. For far too long, society has conditioned men to chase, to prove their worth, to fight endlessly for attention. But here's the key. The moment you step back, the moment you stop constantly convincing her to care, that's when she truly begins to value you. The absence of your attention does more than just create distance. It forces her to face the reality of her feelings. Disappearing isn't about playing childish games or manipulating emotions. It's about exposing the truth. The truth is, if she genuinely cared, she wouldn't let you slip away so easily. If she never truly cared, your absence would hardly faze her, and she would move on without a second thought. However, if she starts to panic, if she begins plotting ways to win you back or attempts to chase after you, that's when the true nature of her feelings comes to light. This is the moment when you can clearly see whether your value in her eyes is real or merely an illusion. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "Freedom is the only true happiness. The more a man knows, the more he values his freedom." By embracing silence, by reclaiming your own freedom and stepping back, you allow her to see your worth and test the strength of her emotions. So, think about it. Have you experienced this dynamic in your own life? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, please hit the like button, share this with anyone who could benefit, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with more content like this. Your support means a lot. Remember, mastering these principles is about taking control of your own actions and emotions. Keep striving for greatness.